The Niners just got good news, bad news, and weird news. I'm going to tell you about all of it in this video. Hit subscribe if you're looking for 49ers content like this. Even on days like today, you might be looking for some 49ers content, I guess, out there, and I'm happy to provide it for you, but I'm going to desperately need you guys to help me out here. Let me know what you guys are thinking about that game. The 49ers lose to the Rams. Of course, as you can see there, this is an old picture from the Rams game earlier this season when we dominated them in the first half. And the flip side is exactly what happened this game. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on the game, just raw thoughts, raw feelings on the game. For me, it felt like a little bit of what I was expecting. A little bit of what I was expecting the first time we met as well, but injuries even worse this time around. And in a lot of ways, I came out of here feeling like pretty positive about some things that I was feeling really down about, and a little down about some things I was feeling really positive about. So it was a really mixed game in that regard. But there's so many positives coming out of this game that I really took me an hour or so to process and realize. So we're going to be talking about a lot of those in this video, plus some of the downsides and a really weird thing that Kyle Shanahan said. It's not as weird when you think about it, but at first it comes across really weird. So we're going to talk about that too. But let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments. I look forward to seeing what you guys think about that one. Let's start with the first positive number one, which is, of course, this was our loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This was not how our offensive line played this time around. This is not how the 49ers offensive line played. It did not look like that. And by the way, in this picture, if you remember, so I'm standing here. If I'm Jake Brendel, I'm like even further over there. That's how far away he was from the play on that picture. It doesn't come across in the full screen, of course. All of that being said, the offensive line actually produced at a decent level considering, coming into this game, how critical we've been of them. I thought they played pretty well today overall. No sacks, low pressure count, I'm guessing is going to be what we're looking at when the totals all come in and all that good stuff. This was interesting here. This is the defensive pass rush. And of course, I'm encouraged to see Keon White on there. And Bryce Huff, of course, good to have him back as well. But what I think is most interesting about this is the lack of quality that happened on the other side of the ball, what our offensive line was able to do. David Lombardi said a lot of things I disagreed with today. I don't normally feel that way. I feel like I agree with a lot of things that he says. I disagree with a lot of what he had to say today, but this is something I can get behind. I can agree with this one. That was easily the 49ers' best game in pass protection. No sacks given up and manageable pressure allowance against one of the best defensive fronts in the league, even though Mac Jones had to throw 39 times. That's a very, very good point from David Lombardi. And we'll talk about some of the things I disagree with. Not like there's bad blood or anything like that. I mean, just, we'll talk about some of those things later on when we get there. Another thing, positive number two. It says number one, but it's actually number two. Positive number two, and this is big, is 49ers Kyle Shanahan reports no injuries today. When's the last time we watched a game and the post-game presser did not include an injury update, a negative injury update? This is fantastic. Now, of course, things can change by tomorrow. Guys often wake up with injuries they didn't know they had the night before, and so things can happen. But Tatum Bethune, I threw him on the screen there for you. Tatum Bethune goes down injured, and I got really worried. Not because Curtis Robinson doesn't deserve a shot. I'd like to see what Curtis Robinson can do for sure, but I was definitely concerned because Curtis Robinson coming in there is taking away a guy who in the last few weeks has become a really solid tackler, and he's really starting to find his feet. So it would be good for Tatum Bethune to come back, and he did come back. Now, it didn't stop the Rams from going on there and scoring more touchdowns. We'll talk about that as well when we get some to the negative side, but this was another huge positive that I wanted to make sure that we pointed out. Absolutely. Okay, let's keep moving, though, okay? Because the issue as it stands is really interesting. Trent, for the love of Pete, George Kittle goes out there today, and he says after the game, essentially, well, actually, I've got a quote. I'll just read it for you so you get a feel for what he says. If it'll work. There it goes. We started the game off with a punt, a fumble, a fourth down turnover, a touchdown, and then a punt. Our team is going to have to rely on a very good veteran offense to score a lot of points and not turn the ball over, and we didn't do that today. That's going to be the case moving forward. We have to help out our defense. That's just the way the season is going to go. Now, I charted the game, the whole game. And I don't normally do that. I usually just take some notes and kind of raw notes as they come. But I charted the game and just looking at the game and two different sides of the ball. On offense, we had a huge problem in the first couple drives, right? You've got a 3-and-out followed by a drive that's starting to gain some momentum, and you're starting to feel really good. Like the Niners are moving the ball. We had a couple 10-plus yard plays in there, and then a fumble, a really bad fumble. And I mean, not bad in the sense that like you get sometimes fumbles happen. Really bad in terms of the momentum of the game and the moment that it was. Then the third drive, they go over there. They 9 plays, 54 yards, 5 minutes, churning the clock. Feels like, hey, this is the 49ers that I know and love right here. Let's go. There's a big explosive in there with Kittle mixed in there, and then turnover on downs, which was a weird one, by the way. That 4th and 1 call to basically kind of get a little bit cheeky with it and say, everyone's expecting a QB sneak. Let's hand the ball off to Christian McCaffrey and push him out wide and take advantage of all these guys in the middle. Horrible decision as it ends. Like it always, that's how it goes, right? After the play happens, if it's a bad play, it's a bad decision. And it was a bad decision. Clearly did not even have a chance to get that first down. So that was a huge bummer, turnover on downs. Then the next drive, you get a touchdown, which felt good, but you had great field position. So you felt like, okay, we got some of that back a little bit. And then the very next one after that, Kittle's point, a punt. So that's what you do in the entirety of the first half, basically. On the defensive side of the ball, you go a 10-play, 64-yard drive to open the game, touchdown. Okay, followed that up with 7 plays after our 3 and out. 7 plays, 86 yards, another touchdown. Followed that up after our fumble with 9 plays, 59 yards, touchdown. Okay, then you get them to a 3 and out, which was cool, right? You'll take that, right? Whatever it is. But the bottom line is, not good enough to open the game. This was a reverse of the other game in a lot of ways, and the Rams definitely took advantage, of course. So, just charting the game, it sounds really bad. When you look at it as a whole after the fact, however, okay? So that's just the opening part of the game. Now, if we look at the whole game, right, in one big chunk, you got Mac Jones throwing for over 300 yards, okay? You've got Kyron Williams beating you in running, and Corum did well as well. So you got both of those guys out there. George Kittle had a heck of a game, though. So there were some things to be positive about. And then when you look at the total yardage and you see the Niners were only down 8 total yards off of the Rams offense. Okay, that's interesting. And where does that take you? Where's the problem there? It's in your turnovers. That's where it happens. It's in your fumble and your interception, which the interception by that point, the game was mostly over, but there was still a shot. And it felt to me like if you don't throw a pick in that scenario, or more so, if 2 plays before that, the referees don't call that illegal shift, and you get that holding call, you get that new set of downs, everything changes for the 49ers, who were definitely carrying the large momentum of the game. So the refs definitely put us in a tough spot there. But you put yourself in a position where that could have happened. And this is where the weird news comes in. So Mac Jones throws for over 300 yards, throws for several touchdowns, throws an interception. It was a decent game by Mac Jones. I'm not going to throw any shade on Mac Jones for his performance today. Okay? That being said, we hear from Kyle Shanahan after the game. This is what dang it. I don't have the quote. Whatever. We hear from Kyle Shanahan after the game. I actually have it right here. I'll just pull it up on my side. We hear from Kyle Shanahan after the game that Brock Purdy could have gone. Brock Purdy chose to be sidelined. Is that the word that I'm looking for? Said this is the exact verbiage. He could have gone, definitely. I just decided to not put him in this situation. Basically saying they're looking at the Jacksonville situation. They think he's farther along now than he was in the Jacksonville situation, but that they're going to wait a little bit longer, essentially. So he could have played today, but they're being extra cautious not to re-injure the toe. Now, from what all the medics and everybody on the internet says about the turf toe injury, this does make some logical sense. So I'm not trying to hate on that. But I'm telling you right now, you turn on the radio tomorrow morning, this is going to be the story. This is going to be a huge storyline. People are going to be like, what do you mean? Brock Purdy could have gone and he's not going. What's the deal, Kyle? What do you mean? And I'm sure some of you probably feel the same way. So let me know in the comments how you feel about this, And in my opinion, right? I'm torn between the two because I want to take that old school football mentality. Like if you can play, you play. But then I also want to recognize that the 49ers are thinking big picture. And your team is still, even after this loss, 6-4, in a very good position with the remaining schedule to get into the playoffs and have a chance to do something. And if you're going to do that, I agree with George Kittle on this front, you're going to need an elite offense. Now, your defense can definitely be better than they were today, for sure. But you're going to need an elite offense, okay? And if the Niners are going to pull that off with an elite offense, if they're going to find a way to make that happen, I think they're going to need Brock Purdy back. Not because Mac Jones hasn't done a good job. He has done a good job. But I think you need your quarterback that you kind of planned the whole season around. You need him back in. You need his mobility, although Mac Jones did have pretty decent mobility. I'll give him a little bit of credit for that today. It was not as big of a deal. But I'd also say that interception that he threw, that Mac Jones threw, that's the same interception Brock Purdy throws. That's a deep ball underthrown. So it's not like Mac Jones has this laser arm that unlocks something for your team that Brock Purdy doesn't. I'm not saying he is stronger. I'll give you that. But I'm not. But at the end of the day, if you're still throwing the same pick, what does it really matter? The bottom line for me is the guys you need involved in this game. Juwan Jennings got a couple opportunities in there, had a fumble, had a false start, had a drop. So there were some bad things in there. But Brock Purdy and Juwan Jennings have had great chemistry. We saw it last year. George Kittle and Brock Purdy, great chemistry. Now, clearly, it's gotten better. Like we saw Mac Jones out there slinging the ball to George Kittle. George Kittle making some heroic plays. Got to give him some credit for that. My goodness. He had that first down catch that was unbelievable, dive for it. And then even more unbelievable was his touchdown. How he managed to keep a body of his size in bounds, plus diving for the pylon, unbelievable touchdown. That was incredible. So you got to take that credit. But the 49ers went up against what is currently rated the number one defense in the NFL, and they did okay on offense. Like, not great. They did okay. If you get rid of a couple of those mistakes, like the false start penalty, hits you at a bad time. The third down drop hits you at a bad time. They're always bad, but that one was bad. The fumble, as they're gaining momentum and getting back in this game, hits you at a horrible time to then be staring down the barrel of 21-0, right? So all in all, like I felt like, hey, a couple of those things don't go that way. If you don't make those mistakes, you are actually in this game against the number one defense in the NFL right now, currently ranked. That's something worth celebrating. That's something worth paying attention to. Celebrating is a strong word. We lost the game. I'm not celebrating anything. But that's something worth paying attention to and at least appreciating that they're doing that. This team is good. This team can move the ball up the field against good defenses. We've seen it multiple times now. Now, are they the team right now that is going to make it deeper in the playoffs? Absolutely not. But can they be that team? Absolutely they can. Of course, there's no rule that says they can't be good. And this defense, who has not had back-to-back games, it feels, with the same defensive line at all this season. It feels like the defensive line is changing every single game because you got all these different guys coming in. You got guys from the practice squad. Travis Gibson leaves the team because he's run out of practice squad elevations. You bring in Cleveland Ferrell. I mean, you got all these different guys in here coming in here and playing, and you got Michael Williams down and Nick Bosa goes down. You have Alfred Collins out. Like, it is unbelievable. You had several weeks without Bryce Huff. How is this defensive line under Chris Kocurek and, more importantly, Robert Saleh going to find a consistent path if they can't consistently be on the field? That has to be a factor. I know it's not as big of a factor as the offensive line and their rhythm and all that stuff, but then the number of times we see penalties happen that just cannot happen. You cannot jump on a 4th and 1. You can't do it. Every team in the NFL wants to try and get you to jump, and you can't jump on a 4th and 1. Like, that is just the most obvious thing. Everybody watching the screen, even the youngest football fans, know what's going on with the hard count. They know exactly what's happening. And you just can't give up you can't make those kinds of mistakes, right? And I think that's because these guys, you got all these guys coming in and rotating in and out, and you don't have a solid, consistent defensive line, and that's the kind of stuff that happens. You got guys making mistakes because they're not playing week in, week out. They're not in rhythm. They haven't figured it all out yet. I believe that was maybe Jordan Elliott, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. I don't know. But I think that's who it was, but whatever. It could be in my notes somewhere. I can't really remember. Bottom line is, there were some positives here. I'm walking away feeling better than I thought I would feel after this loss. At the very moment that the whistle blows or, they start kneeing the ball or whatever, I'm looking at it. I'm like, man, 42-26 is a bad taste in its mouth. But somehow 42-26 after the second half feels 42-26 after 21-0 feels a lot better. And I know like numbers wise, it's not really that different, but it felt super different that you get this to a 1-score game and all of a sudden it's actually like within our hands. It's within our grasp here. And, referee decision here, mistake over there, threw a pick right here, and the game's out of your hands. But overall, man, like this team found a way to move the ball well despite all of the odds against them. That hurts their NFC West standings a little bit, but I like where they're at. I like their chances to make the playoffs against this upcoming schedule. And you gotta hand it to the Rams on this one. They played pretty well. They played like flawlessly in the first few drives there. All in all, your third down efficiency, you not stopping them on third down. When you did get to stop them on third down, they're converting on fourth down, which is a bummer. And then, the 49ers, who have been great on third down, are 3-8, not great. Go for it on fourth 3 times, are 1-3. That's not great. So all in all, your San Francisco 49ers had a heroic type performance during good portions of that game. But what I said from the very, very beginning, if you want to win this game, you can't make any mistakes. No big mistakes. That's no fumbles. That's no interceptions. That's you let the other team make mistakes. You put pressure on them so that they make mistakes. You can't have mistakes in this game. And it was a bad feeling at 21-0. Feels a little better at 42-26. Still sucks though. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Appreciate it. We're 7 days away from the 49ers taking on the Cardinals, and the Cardinals absolutely got destroyed by the Seahawks today. The last time we played a team who got absolutely destroyed by the Seahawks, we got found out in a bad way. So let's not do that again this time. Let's get this one right against the Cardinals. Let's take care of business. They're 4-6. Let's make them 4-7. Let's get back to winning ways, get back on the right track. We'll be talking about this and breaking it down a heck of a lot more throughout the week, so make sure you're subbed up and you don't miss out on all the action. Appreciate you guys and hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your Sunday night.